Chapter 2321, The Fight, 1. He had done so much and worked hard for so long. He just wanted to use Wang Yang, his capable son, to become another person who had made great contributions to the Wang family in the history of the Wang family. However, if Wang Yang regarded himself as separate from the Wang family, no matter if this lawsuit would eventually be won or not, there was no doubt that Wang Yang's thoughts toward the Wang family wouldn't be as sincere as before. Wang Yang might not do things that would benefit the entire Wang family. If Wang Yang couldn't become the person who made the greatest contributions to the Wang family, then he couldn't become the father of the person who made the greatest contributions to the Wang family. This was not in line with his original plan. One had to know that he didn't even marry the woman he liked. He also couldn't straighten his back in front of his wife in this lifetime. Wasn't that all for this small purpose? Once Wang Yang no longer cooperated with him, everything he had worked hard for would have become empty talk. How would Father Wang be able to accept that most of his life's work was ruined and his name couldn't stay in the Wang family for long after his death? It was just that Mother Zhu was still by his side. It wasn't convenient for him to say certain things in front of her. Father Wang took a deep breath. "I'm tired. I'm going to take an afternoon nap. Go out. Don't disturb me." Mother Zhu laughed. "We have slept on the same bed for decades. Sure, you want to rest, huh? I'll leave." What Mother Zhu really wanted to say was that they had lived half their lifetimes together. She knew what Father Wang was up to with an action of his. Who wouldn't feel heartache over their child? Mother Zhu insisted on not letting Father Wang give Wang Yang so much pressure. As such, Mother Zhu agreed without a second word when Father Wang asked her to leave. It was just that before Mother Zhu stepped out, she kept Father Wang's phone. "The doctor said that your health isn't good recently. You have to be exposed lesser to these digital devices as there is radiation. Rest well. Call me when you have rested enough." Mother Zhu kept his phone. Father Wang was like a son who couldn't even resist. Although his phone had been kept away, there was still a landline in his room. Who knew that when he picked up the phone and wanted to call Wang Yang, the beep tone could be heard? It was then did Father Wang realize that not only did Mother Zhu keep his phone when she left, but she even unplugged the main signal line of the landline at home. This caused Father Wang, who had no other communication tools on hand, to become anxious. However, he no longer had ways to contact Wang Yang. He could no longer brainwash Wang Yang and make him remember that his interests were binding with the Wang families. Wang Yang naturally didn't know what happened between Mother Zhu and Father Wang. It was already 3 days later when Wang Yang received a call from Father Wang. To Father Wang, the most difficult thing was that he had to borrow a chess friend's phone to call his son since he couldn't use the landline at home or his phone. It could be said that Father Wang took great pains in order to contact Wang Yang again. Upon knowing that Mother Zhu was keeping watch on him and she only had Wang Yang in her heart, Father Wang gave up the idea of using the landline at home to contact Wang Yang. Father Wang wasn't someone who loved to play chess. Furthermore, their Wang family was in a lawsuit now. However, in order to give Wang Yang a call, Father Wang seemed to have forgotten that he was the losing party in this lawsuit. Not only did he take his medicine daily and have the habit of walking after meals, but he even got his nanny at home to push him to the community park from time to time so that he could play chess with other old men. Perhaps Mother Zhu was really fooled by Father Wang when they were young. However, when they became old, the situation seemed to be reversed. It was unknown if it was because of hereditary issues that Mother Zhu's health was much better than Father Wang's. Father Wang had the 3 highs. Once he became agitated, it was very easy for these issues to cause great problems to Father Wang's health. On the contrary, it was unknown if Mother Zhu had been living heartlessly her whole life, but she was pretty healthy. She had minor illnesses occasionally and no major illnesses. Without a doubt, now that Father Wang was ill at this age, the person taking care of him was neither his son nor his brother or anyone else. It could only be Mother Zhu. This was what spouses were, the ones who accompanied oneself in old age, meant. It was also precisely because Mother Zhu was healthier than Father Wang that Father Wang needed Mother Zhu's care in order to live well. He couldn't take care of himself. Father Wang wasn't thinking of doing anything big. He just wanted to have a call with his son alone, like in the past. He wanted to repeat the words he used to say to his son so that he could change him back to who he used to be and give him a promise. Father Wang found it hard to realize such a small wish. As long as he was within Mother Zhu's sight, he didn't need to think about getting his hands on his phone, landline, or the computer, let alone using these tools to contact Wang Yang. Mother Zhu was the female owner of the Wang family for years. Comparatively, the auntie naturally listened to Mother Zhu, who was healthy, had more interactions with her, and gave her salary, more. After receiving Mother Zhu's orders, not only would the auntie not help Father Wang, but she would also follow Mother Zhu's instructions strictly and not be sloppy. Father Wang thought of forking out money to bribe this nanny so that it would be more convenient for him to walk around in the future. Who knew that the nanny would refuse? It was still money and she would still be doing something. Furthermore, he didn't offer a low price. On what basis did the nanny at home only want to earn Mother Zhu's money but not his? Could it be that Mother Zhu paid her in US dollars while he was paying her in yuan, so she decided to ignore him? Father Wang had no choice that the nanny listened to Mother Zhu completely. As such, he thought of going outside for a walk since the weather was good. He wanted to bask in the sun and play chess with the other old men in the neighborhood. A few days ago, the nanny was still by Father Wang's side and keeping a close watch on him. Mother Zhu said that with Father Wang's current situation, he needed more care and attention, so there must be someone by his side. Father Wang behaved very normally for the first few times. Coincidentally, the nanny received a call and had to leave for half an hour to get something. Father Wang knew that his chance was here. There were so many people in the neighborhood and it was broad daylight. The auntie felt safe to leave Father Wang for a while. Chapter 2322, The Fight, 2. Before she left, she had already asked everyone to help her take care of the old master before she returned in half an hour's time. Only after getting an affirmative reply did the nanny leave. Once the nanny left, Father Wang relaxed immediately. Finally gone? His chess friend asked, "What do you mean? Have you become confused? It's been almost half a minute. What's your next move?" Father Wang's chess friend nearly leaped up from his chair upon hearing Father Wang talking about leaving. Could it be that his friend had gotten Alzheimer's disease? He hadn't even moved for the past minute, and yet, he had said that he had already done so. Was he crazy? Father Wang's chess friend had no idea what Father Wang was talking about, but Father Wang did. Father Wang smiled at his friend. "That wasn't what I meant. I have something on. Does anyone want to continue this game for me? Or you guys could start a new game. Oh right, can I borrow your phone? I was in a rush to get out of the house today and I just realized that I forgot to bring my phone with me. Do you mind lending me your phone?" If his friend minded, Father Wang was willing to fork out some money to rent his phone for a short while. "All right, I'll lend you my phone. But hurry and move aside. Someone else has to take your place." Father Wang's chess friend did not insist on continuing the game with Father Wang. Actually, these old men were not exceptionally close to Father Wang either. In fact, Father Wang had always been a rather arrogant old man who often bragged about his brother-in-law's status, which family his wife was from, and how brilliant his son was. Who wouldn't be sick of listening to such words? The neighbors did have some understanding of the Zhu family's conditions. It was just that they didn't think that having Zhu Chenqi leave all of the family's assets to Wang Yang just because he had no children of his own was something to be proud of. It felt as though they were taking advantage of someone else's death. If Zhu Chenqi had a son of his own, Wang Yang would never have gotten so lucky. But such was life. No matter how successful Wang Yang became in the future, it had nothing to do with his own talent or abilities. It was all thanks to the Zhu family. Father Wang already had an air of superiority to begin with, acting as though the Wang family was about to make it to the top. Once that happened, the Wang family would be on a completely different level as compared to their neighbors. Before that happened, these neighbors had better know to appease and flatter him. Only then would he be willing to help their children once his son made a name for himself. Nothing was even certain yet. Father Wang's confidence was ridiculous. Father Wang's attitude was truly annoying. After all, they were all the heads of their own households and were pampered just as well by their own families. As such, no one had ever forced themselves to get close to Father Wang. Since Father Wang had taken the initiative to break into their circle of friends and had even gotten rid of that air of superiority he had had previously, there was no reason for them to exclude or remain prejudiced against him. After all, a game of chess required only brains, not the heart. There was nothing wrong with simply being chess friends with no other feelings involved. After some time, everyone's attitudes toward Father Wang had gradually improved. As such, his friends were willing to lend their phones to Father Wang. His friend barely even lifted his head before whipping his phone out from his pocket and handing it over to Father Wang slightly impatiently. It had taken a few days, but Father Wang had finally managed to borrow his friend's phone. Father Wang could not help but wonder when he had become so useless. He had been under the control of that Zhu woman for most of his life. Even now that they barely had many more years to go, that woman had tightened her control over him. She had kicked up such a big fuss over a single phone call. He shook those thoughts out of his mind. Although he was reluctant to believe it, this was indeed a true reflection of his life now. Father Wang's eyesight had deteriorated and he spent some time reciting Wang Yang's phone number. He could not help but breathe out a sigh of relief. He had memorized it well. "Hello, Wang Yang. It's me. Dad." Hearing his dad's voice, Wang Yang's voice was no longer as cordial as it had been before. In fact, his tone was much colder than usual. Father Wang had always felt that Mother Zhu had spoiled Wang Yang. That was why Wang Yang had distanced himself from him and the Wang family. Thinking about what Mother Zhu had told Wang Yang before, Father Wang flared up at how obediently Wang Yang was to his mother. In the past, Wang Yang had always listened to him instead of that Zhu woman. Wang Yang was disgracing him and the entire Wang family. "Wang Yang, what's with that attitude of yours? Don't tell me that you've really taken your mom's words to heart? Don't you remember what your grandpa did for you while he was still alive? Wang Yang, it's not right to be so heartless. If your grandpa hadn't stepped in to protect you then, do you think that you would have gotten away with Zhu Baoquo's matter? Those gangsters were mobs. After making such a huge mistake with the will, shouldn't you understand that Zhu Chinqi isn't an easy person to deal with? If even one of those gangsters had been caught by Zhu Chinqi, do you think Zhu Chinqi would have been willing to acknowledge you as his nephew? He would have disowned you a long time ago. If Zhu Chinqi had disowned his nephew, Wang Yang, a long time ago, there was no way Wang Yang would have gotten so close to becoming the master of the Zhu family. Wang Yang, your grandpa treated you so well, and so has the Wang family. You can't be so heartless. Your mom's short-sighted and only remembers that she's a Zhu. She's forgotten that she's married into our Wang family. How can she keep talking about how much the Wang family has benefited from the Zhu family? You can't learn from your mom. Besides, you'd better forget everything your mom told you. You aren't allowed to lose this lawsuit. Your uncles and cousins' futures were all brought down because of your involvement in Zhu Baoquo's matter. You owe it to them. Don't you think you should return the favor?" Wang Yang was not at all surprised that Father Wang had made a call just to say these words. In fact, Wang Yang had thought that it was strange how Father Wang had waited so many days before doing so. If this had happened in the past, Wang Yang might have listened to his father. But now, things were different. Chapter 2323. The Fight, 3. Who wasn't selfish? Who didn't want to live a better life? Father Wang was simply hoping to become a great hero in the Wang family through his son, Wang Yang. As for how much effort Wang Yang had to put in, or how arduous the path was, Father Wang did not care about it at all. In the same vein, Wang Yang, who didn't feel a strong sense of belonging to the Wang family, felt that his own future was the most important. All these years, he had indeed gotten quite a lot of help from Zhu Qinqi. Of course, there was no way he could compare to Zai Sheng. But compared to his uncles and cousins from the Wang family, they were miles apart. He could even say with no sense of remorse that there was no one who was more promising than him in the Wang family. In fact, he had always been the one taking care of the Wang family. When had the Wang family ever taken care of him? What Father Wang cared about was the entire Wang family. What Wang Yang cared about was much simpler. He knew that it would definitely be a great help to himself if his uncles and cousins did well. After all, he needed people he could trust if he wanted to expand his business. The problem was that Wang Yang's end goal of helping the Wang family was ultimately benefiting himself, not the Wang family. What he was most concerned about was his family living well. As such, it was obvious that there was no way Father Wang was ever going to instill the idea of benefiting the entire Wang family in Wang Yang, especially after Wang Yang had taken his mother's words to heart. Wang Yang leaned back against the sofa, no longer feeling that sense of remorse or the need to make it up to the Wang family as he had before. "Dad, I'm 37 this year, not 17, much less 3 years old. Do you really think I'm a toddler you can speak to like that?" In the past, Wang Yang had never been willing to think too much about the matter. Besides, it was true that the Wang family had invested quite a lot in protecting him. But now that Wang Yang had calmed down and thought more about the matter, Wang Yang realized that his father and his late grandpa had been treating him like a fool, especially his dad, who was trying to coax him as though he was coaxing his mom. Upon coming to this realization, Wang Yang had been terribly heartbroken. In fact, he had been as devastated as the time he had lost the lawsuit to Jiao Nan. Father Wang had put in quite a lot of effort into marrying Mother Zhu. Everyone knew that the Zhu family had not been particularly happy with this union, but the Zhu family's daughter had taken a fancy to this boy from the Wang family and had insisted on marrying him. No one knew exactly how much of a fuss the Zhu family's daughter had kicked up, but the result was the Zhu family compromising and allowing her to marry him. Wang Yang had heard about this before. In fact, Wang Yang thought that his father was pretty impressive for being able to coax his mom in this manner. Father Wang must have thought that he would not have to work so hard since he had such a powerful family as his in-laws. Unfortunately, Father Wang was not bold enough and was a rather reserved man. He liked the Zhu family's daughter but was afraid of the men of the Zhu family. As such, he had not dared to burn his bridges by doing anything too extreme. The only thing he could do was to cajole the Zhu family's daughter with his sweet words. So much so that she would insist on marrying only him. Mother Zhu was different. The men in the Zhu family loved girls, so Mother Zhu had been spoiled by her father and brother while growing up, and she was especially stubborn and brave. There was nothing she dared not do, only things she never thought of. Father Wang had never overstepped his line, but the Zhu family had always stood in the way, preventing them from getting married. Because of that, Mother Zhu had directly told her family, "If you guys stand in the way any longer, just wait and see. I'll get pregnant in a few months' time. Then, the Zhu family will become a joke to everyone." Mother Zhu knew that the Zhu family would never stop her once she got into an intimate relationship with Father Wang. At that time, Grandma Zhu had already passed away, and Zhu Baoquo's mother had passed away after giving birth to Zhu Baoquo. As such, Mother Zhu was the only female in the entire Zhu family. Because of that, there was no female who was in the position to have a good chat with Mother Zhu. As her father and brother, there was no way the men of the Zhu family could possibly ask Mother Zhu if she had indeed slept with Father Wang. Of course, it was inconvenient to talk to Father Wang about this matter too. In the end, Zhu Qinqi had not been able to hold himself back anymore and had simply punched Father Wang. Because Father Wang had wanted to get married to Mother Zhu, he had not dared to bring up the matter. When Mother Zhu saw his bruised and swollen face, Father Wang had simply lied that he had fallen and injured himself. With Mother Zhu's courage, the couple had finally gotten married. From all these events, it was not difficult to see that the Wang family actually feared the Zhu family. Even though Mother Zhu had married into their family and had given birth to Wang Yang, the men in the Wang family had never dared to provoke Mother Zhu. After all, Mother Zhu was the Zhu family's only daughter. If anyone in the Wang family really dared to anger Mother Zhu, they had to live in fear of Zhu Chenqi taking revenge for his sister. If the Zhu family cared so much about a useless daughter like Mother Zhu, it went without saying that they would treasure their only grandson, Zhu Baoqiu, even more. In the past, Wang Yang had not thought much about it. He had simply thought that he had killed Zhu Baoqiu because he had gotten thugs to beat Zhu Baoqiu up. If the Zhu family were to find out about it, his grandfather and uncle would definitely disown him and would even get back at him. Now that Wang Yang had thought things through, he knew that things would never have been this simple. If the Zhu family had really found out that he had something to do with Zhu Baoqiu's death, he might have gotten unlucky, but the Wang family would definitely have been in a disaster. Before getting married, his mom had always been the one raising Zhu Baoqiu. As such, his mom loved her nephew dearly. Based on this relationship, his mom had always told him that Zhu Baoqiu was his biological brother and that they had to get along well since they were family. It was alright to give in and compromise at times. Why did Wang Yang hate Zhu Baoqiu so much? It was because Mother Zhu was the only person in the Wang family who would tell Wang Yang that he should be close to Zhu Baoqiu since they were brothers. Apart from Mother Zhu, everyone else in the Wang family always told him that Zhu Baoqiu was not as clever or obedient as he was. Even though he was half a Zhu, his surname was not Zhu. That was why he was not as fortunate as Zhu Baoqiu. In the future, all of the Zhu family's assets would go to Zhu Baoqiu, and he would have to watch on by the sidelines. Chapter 2324, Getting Angry for Nothing, 1. It was because the Wang family had instilled such a belief in Wang Yang that he harbored such hatred toward Zhu Baoqiu and always thought about getting rid of Zhu Baoqiu so that he could inherit all of the Zhu family's assets. At that time, he had been so shocked that he had simply taken the blame for Zhu Baoqiu's death. In fact, if the Wang family had not constantly spoken ill about Zhu Baoqiu in front of him, he would never have heeded Zhu Baoqiu. In fact, he might very well have taken his mom's advice and become close brothers with Zhu Baoqiu. It was entirely the Wang family's fault that he thought so negatively of Zhu Baoqiu. He couldn't wrap his head around this. Did that mean that his uncles and grandpa had already been thinking of using him all this while? The Wang family had brought him astray, eventually culminating in Zhu Baoqiu's death. Because of his age, he would never have been punished severely even if he had been caught. On the contrary, the Wang family would definitely face the full force of the Zhu family's revenge if the Zhu family determined that the Wang family had caused Zhu Baoqiu's death. One was a stubborn and rebellious daughter who had insisted on going against her family's advice, while the other was their family's only grandson. Even a fool would know whose side the Zhu family would be on. There was no way the Zhu family would go easy on the Wang family just because Mother Zhu was the Wang family's daughter-in-law. Since the Wang family had dared to plant such ideas in Wang Yang's mind, they should have been prepared to be attacked. There was no way the Wang family would be able to fight against the Zhu family. Although the Wang family's situation had improved over the years, it was nothing much for the Zhu family if they wanted the Wang family to be gone from the political scene. The Zhu family's anger would mainly be directed at the Wang family. Even as the main instigator, he might not even be punished so severely. Instead of saying that old Master Wang had spent most of the family's savings on protecting Wang Yang by relocating those gangsters involved in Zhu Baoqiu's death, the truth was that old Master Wang was simply trying to protect the entire Wang family, especially his sons and grandsons. Old Master Wang had protected so many people, but it was always Wang Yang who became the subject and the only one old Master Wang had saved whenever this matter was brought up. Wang Yang felt that his grandpa had done him a disservice. The funny thing was that he had been so gullible as to believe all this nonsense in the past. Every time his father brought this matter up in their conversations, Wang Yang would be incredibly touched and feel as though he had to win the lawsuit against Xiao Nan. Then, he would return all of the Wang family's money to them. 20 years ago, the Wang family had had some cash and resources and could have used them to pave the way for his uncles if they had not needed to help him. Thankfully, Wang Yang had come to his senses and realized that this was simply nonsense. Dad. We're living in the 21st century. It's been so long since the end of the Qing dynasty. Why are you still so old-fashioned and trying to butt in? When trees grow, they branch out. When Grandpa was still alive, you already split from your brothers to set up your own families. You're already a grandpa. We should care only about our own family. Why are you trying to do so much? The Wang family? That's a terribly heavy burden. If you're not tired and think you're capable, you can take it up. Anyway, I'm not going to bear that burden. If his dad had the ability to grow the Wang family's wealth, he could swear to the heavens that he would never compete with his uncles or cousins for money. He would not even take a single cent. But forget about asking him to be a slave to the Wang family or being a cash cow for them. He was not so generous. He had his own family and his own son to think about. Even if he could earn more, the money would undoubtedly go to his son, not anyone from the Wang family. Father Wang had not even managed to persuade Wang Yang not to listen to his short-sighted mother and to unite together with his family before Wang Yang had gone on with his own philosophy. This angered Father Wang deeply. In the past, Wang Yang had never dared to speak to his father in this manner. He had always agreed with whatever Father Wang had said. At that time, Father Wang had been rather proud of his son, especially when comparing him to the children of his siblings. His son was outstanding and filial. Compared to him, his siblings were living such miserable lives. But this son, whom he had always been proud of, had changed. One could imagine Father Wang's shock at that. Wang Yang, who gave you the right to talk to me like that? Was it your mom? Or was it your dead uncle? Only the Zhu family has the right to be so demanding toward us. Even someone with half of the Zhu family's blood doesn't have the right to do so. Didn't Zhu Chinkies will bring you to your senses? You're a Wang. Don't be mistaken. Do you really think you're a Zhu? Father Wang hated the Zhu family the most but was most delighted about having married the Zhu family's daughter and having a son who was a grandson of the Zhu family. Whether it was in the past or now, there was no one else who dared to disrespect Father Wang apart from the Zhu family, whom he had had to bow down before even after being punched in the face. Even Wang Yang, who was a descendant of the Zhu family, had to listen to him. Wang Yang had never been rebellious like other children, and he had always been obedient to his father. Before he could even get the chance to persuade Wang Yang had made his stance clear and had distanced himself from the Wang family. In fact, Wang Yang's attitude made it clear that he thought that the Wang family hadn't done much for him and that there was nothing wrong with treating the Wang family in this manner. If Wang Yang had been standing in front of Father Wang would definitely not have spared his son from a beating. If he went easy on Wang Yang would never realize that he had to listen to his father at all times. It was unfortunate that Wang Yang was miles away, and the father and son were speaking over the phone. Most ridiculously, Father Wang was not even using his own phone but his friend's. Chapter 2325, Getting Angry for Nothing, 2. Wang Yang was not at all surprised by his father's response. After all, he had exposed the truth behind the Wang family having supposedly protected him after Zhu Baoquo's death. Dad, this doesn't seem to be your phone number. Have you changed your number? Don't tell me that you borrowed someone's phone. We're having a long-distance call. Don't forget to pay that person for it. It's not too nice to use someone else's phone for a long-distance call. If there's nothing else, we can chat another time. The lawyer's here. I have some things to discuss with him. What was there to discuss? Of course, it was about the lawsuit with Jiaonan so that he could get back the Zhu family's assets. Wang Yang knew that his dad had always looked down on his mom, feeling that she had been played by a useless man even though she had such a great family background. But Wang Yang knew that his father would never dare to go against his mother no matter how much he looked down on her. Just like now, even though his uncle, Zhu Chenqi, was gone, his father could not even hold on to his own phone once his mother decided so. They had all become used to this since that was the way things had been all these years. Wang Yang was their son. As such, Wang Yang did have an understanding of Father Wang. One was his mother, while the other was his father. Wang Yang didn't see anything wrong with his father taking advantage of other women, but that was not the case since Mother Zhu was his mother. As such, Wang Yang had never thought of correcting his dad even when his dad had simply been pretending to be afraid of Mother Zhu. Eventually, that pretense had turned into reality. Anyway, his father was afraid of his mother, who had been loyal to his dad all along. There was nothing wrong with that. Since that was the case, it wouldn't cause much of a problem in their lives. After hanging up, Wang Yang looked as though he had been relieved of a huge burden. Now, he was no longer fighting the lawsuit for the entire Wang family or his father's sake. It was for himself. There was no longer the need for anyone else to interfere in the matter. "Dear, are you all right? What did Dad say?" Li Yan was truly afraid of her father-in-law, Father Wang. Whenever she heard his voice, Li Yan couldn't help but shrink her neck. The only time Li Yan had ever held her head up high in front of her father-in-law was the day she had given birth to her son. "Dad. Dad is just angry over the lawsuit. Don't take his words to heart. His tone is horrendous no matter who he speaks to nowadays. Dear, I'm really sorry for being so useless. I was timid and couldn't be of any help, that was why he had been scolded." Hearing Li Yan's words, Wang Yang laughed. His father might have been scheming toward him, but he had a very good biological mother as well as a good wife. With these two women by his side, things didn't look too bad. "Don't worry. You should have heard what I told my dad too. My dad is terribly afraid of my mom. He won't dare to make too much of a fuss in front of her. I won't take his words to heart. As for the lawsuit, I'll try my best to win it for my own sake as well as our son's future." He didn't wish for his son to have to work as hard as he did or to be compared to another kid his whole life. If that were the case, he would always be resentful of the fact that he was smarter and more outstanding than other children but still have to flatter others just because of their statuses. No, he wouldn't let that happen. He would do his best to let his son enjoy a high status. That way, his son would have the highest standing amongst all his friends. He would never let his son go through the humiliation he had. "All right, I'm hungry. Let's eat." Li Yan stared at Wang Yang blankly. "Is it really okay?" She had not dared to listen to what Wang Yang had said to her father-in-law in detail, but it wasn't hard to tell from her father-in-law's tone that he was angry. Every time her father-in-law got upset, he would lash out at others, whether it was her or his biological son, Wang Yang. She had been blessed by marrying Wang Yang. Compared to other brilliant mothers-in-law, her mother-in-law was quite good. The only thing that bothered Li Yan was her father-in-law, Father Wang, who was old-fashioned, stubborn, and fierce. As long as things did not go his way, he would lash out at them mercilessly. The problem was that neither she nor Wang Yang was a child. In fact, their own son was all grown up. It was all right for her father-in-law to reprimand them at times at home, but he did that even when they had guests over. And he dared to talk about his family? Was it not embarrassing just because they were all Wangs? Where did these ridiculous ideas come from? Such situations were even more embarrassing. But Li Yan had no other choice since she didn't have a good family background. No matter how much she resented her father-in-law for being so insolent, she dared not rebel against him. After all, Father Wang did not even spare his own son or grandson. Wang Yang was Li Yin's standard. Since Wang Yang behaved in this manner in front of Father Wang, Li Yin had no choice but to treat him respectfully too. It could be said that Father Wang was the only imperfection in her blissful life after her marriage. As she scolded her father-in-law, she felt that there was no way Wang Yang enjoyed being lectured either, since he was already a father himself. As such, Wang Yang had to be afraid of Father Wang, just as she was. "It's all right. I know what to do. Don't worry. You're right. If I want to further my career in the capital, we have to bring our son over. Then, I'll bring my mom over too. You won't mind, right? My mom was the one who raised our son. She probably won't be able to leave him, and neither will he want to be separated from her." Li Yin was much less uncomfortable with her mother-in-law than she was with her father-in-law. Even though her mother-in-law had led her son to speak ill of her in the past, she knew that her father-in-law was the main instigator behind it, not her mother-in-law. When her son was born, her mother-in-law had no intention of raising her son on her behalf. It was only after her father-in-law said something that her mother-in-law insisted on keeping her son by her side. In order to take care of Zhu Chenqi, she had moved to the capital with Wang Yang. At that time, her mother-in-law's first reaction had been to ask about what would happen to her grandson. Chapter 2326, Getting Angry for Nothing, 3. Were they intending on leaving him behind for her to raise him? Or was he following his parents to the capital? Initially, Li Yin had not understood her mother-in-law, Mother Zhu. But as time passed, Li Yin gradually started to understand Mother Zhu's thoughts. Her son rarely had the chance to visit the Zhu family, but her son recognized his great-uncle, Zhu Chenqi, through photos. Based on that, it was not difficult to understand that Mother Zhu hoped for her grandson to get close to Zhu Chenqi, letting him play with Zhu Chenqi. At that time, Li Yin had thought that it would be good if that were the case. After all, she had been taking care of Zhu Chenqi with Wang Yang for a few years. During that time, Zhu Chenqi had been lukewarm toward them. But there was no way he would be able to remain so indifferent to a cheerful and upbeat little child. While both she and Wang Yang had started to take care of Zhu Chenqi because of their own motives, her son had not. That would be a great opportunity for them. If her son could grow up by Zhu Chenqi's side, it would be fine if Zhu Chenqi decided to give all his assets to her son instead of Wang Yang. After all, her son was still young and needed a guardian. If the Zhu family's assets were to go to her son, Wang Yang would be able to use it all the same. She thought that her son would be able to curry the favor of Zhu Chenqi more easily than them, and the plan would be a success. But her father-in-law refused to use such a brilliant strategy. She knew that her mother-in-law had thought of doing so but had eventually changed her mind because of her father-in-law's influence. Because of this, Li Yin had honestly been resentful toward her father-in-law. Because of the will, Father Wang had scolded Wang Yang for refusing to marry Qiaonan even when he had known that Zhu Chenqi cared about Qiaonan and had intended to acknowledge her as his goddaughter. If he had done so, it wouldn't have mattered what kind of will Zhu Chenqi left behind. What was the point of finding a woman who looked like Qiaonan? A daughter-in-law like Li Yin was completely useless to the Wang family. Could Li Yin possibly not be resentful upon hearing that? She did not think that she was lacking in any way, nor did she think that Wang Yang had made a mistake by marrying her. It was true that she had not been able to help Wang Yang much in Zhu Chenqi's matter. The problem was that she had already given birth to a lovely son. It was just that her father-in-law was reluctant to send her son over to Zhu Chenqi's side. Anyway, Zhu Chenqi had never had much interaction with Qiaonan. The difference was that her son could have grown up by Zhu Chenqi's side. She believed that Zhu Chenqi wouldn't have been so heartless toward her adorable son. It was only because her father-in-law ridiculed Zhu Chenqi for having no sons or grandsons by his side even though he held a high position that he refused to allow her son to be by Zhu Chenqi's side. Her father-in-law had never been able to beat Zhu Chenqi his whole life, but being a grandfather was something that Zhu Chenqi could never have. What did they mean by successful people didn't care about the minute details? When men got petty, they were often much more extreme than women. Just because he had wanted to show his grandson off to Zhu Chenqi, they had wasted a perfect opportunity. And now, her father-in-law had the guts to push the blame to her and Wang Yang. Li Yan was infuriated. But Father Wang had the final say in the Wang family, so Li Yan had never dared to pin the blame on him even though she knew that he was in the wrong. If nothing else, it was because Wang Yang had always stood on his father's side no matter how badly his father berated him. Because of Wang Yang's attitude, Li Yan had not dared to stir up any animosity between Wang Yang and his father. Thankfully, Li Yan felt that her chance had finally come. Leaving her mother-in-law aside, it seemed like it would no longer be so difficult to deal with her father-in-law. Of course, I won't object. I know that Mom loves our son dearly. Mom has spent so much time and effort raising our son. In fact, we can't even compare to her in that aspect. You know that I'm like a young child sometimes. If I have to take care of our son alone, I'm afraid that something might happen. It would be great if Mom could come to the capital to help me out. As long as her mother-in-law got away from her father-in-law, she felt that her mother-in-law would definitely be more normal. But dear, you only mentioned Mom. What about Dad? This time, Wang Yang was truly furious at her father-in-law. But was he really going to disown him? If that was the case, Li Yan thought that it was his karma. She had always thought that Wang Yang was truly filial to his father. Not only had Wang Yang excelled in school, but he had even done well in his career with some help from Zhu Chenqi. But he had never once been praised by her father-in-law. In fact, her father-in-law always lectured him for not being good enough. She thought about her own family. Her younger brother was useless. He had floated through school and was just getting by now. He had depended on his sister to get his job and even relied on his parents to give him money to get a wife. He could afford to do nothing at all and relax while his family members arranged everything for him. Her younger brother was so useless, and yet, he dared to throw tantrums in front of their parents, complaining that they didn't give him enough money and that he wasn't a civil servant. He did not even need to work hard to get a pretty wife. If he couldn't get a wife, it was entirely his parents' fault for not providing for him. Even so, her younger brother lived like an emperor in her family. On the other hand, Wang Yang was like an ox in the Wang family. Comparing her younger brother and Wang Yang, Li Yan's heart went out to Wang Yang even if the other person was her own biological brother. In the past, Li Yan had not dared to say anything for fear of ruining her relationship with Wang Yang. But the day she had always been waiting for had finally arrived. She would finally get to take her revenge. My dad, at the mention of Father Wang, Wang Yang's tone grew a lot colder. My dad is especially concerned about my uncles and cousins. He can't let go of them. My dad's so old. I can't possibly be so selfish as to ask him to move to the capital for my sake. Since he likes his relatives so much, I'll be a filial son and accede to his request. Then, I'll just give him a bigger allowance. There are so many people in the Wang family. I'm sure they'll take good care of my dad. Chapter 2327, Precious Darling, 1. If he were to bring his dad over from Pingcheng, he might very well become the criminal who tore apart his dad's relationship with his family. He would never do such a terrible thing. Li Yan's eyes lit up. Yes, I think that's good. You can make the decision on this. Then, if Dad insists on spending his retirement in Pingcheng, we'll respect his decision. We'll just give him a little more money. Most importantly, Dad should live well. Don't you think so? Dear. Compared to her father-in-law's attitude and actions in the past, Li Yan felt that she had fulfilled her duty as a daughter-in-law. Wang Yang knew just how much Li Yan had suffered at the hands of Father Wang. At that time, he had still been muddle-headed and thought that his dad was in a tight spot himself. After all, he had not helped the Wang family much all these years. It was because of his incompetence that his father owed so much to the Wang family. If he was more capable, he would have taken over the Zhu family a long time ago and helped the Wang family as well. It was only because his father was too stressed that he was short-tempered and vented his anger on Li Yian. So, what should he do? His dad was an old man, while he still had a long way ahead with Li Yian. As such, it was only right for him to appease the elderly before appeasing his wife. Wang Yang had not forgotten about any of this. What Wang Yang had not expected was to have the chance to protect his wife, Li Yian, even before allowing his dad to hold his head up high before the Wang family. After all, it wouldn't be long before their family would be able to live together without being apart. Wang Yang patted Li Yian on the shoulder. "Let's do as you said. My dad will be happier with those people. As long as he's happy, I'm happy." He was curious about whether the Wang family would continue treating his father in the same way, respecting him if he no longer returned to Pingcheng and decreased his contact with the Wang family. Would his father really be happier without his son? Of course, he hoped that whatever his dad had done for the Wang family would be worth it. Although he did not think of himself as part of the Wang family, it would be good if the Wang family had sons who were worthy of his dad's sacrifice. In that case, he wouldn't feel so sad or hurt about what his dad had done in the past. The couple was chatting happily, and their relationship was even stronger than when they had first gotten married. Of course, the Zai family, who had won the lawsuit, had no worries at all. All they cared about was raising the 3 children well. "I knew that Wang guy wouldn't give up so easily. The Wang family already dared to employ all sorts of underhand methods to marry the Zhu family's daughter. Sigh. That lady must be a fool. She's already a grandma but she's still so muddle-headed. Why can't she see that she's been sleeping next to a wolf?" Miaojing had a strong opinion toward Mother Zhu. She felt that the Zhu family must have committed serious crimes in their past lives to have gotten such an unfilial daughter like Mother Zhu. It didn't even matter that Mother Zhu had gotten married to a wolf. But because of her marriage, she had brought so much bad luck upon her entire family. Such a brilliant child like Zhu Baoqiu had been killed because of that. When Mother Zhu passed on, she would probably not have the face to meet any of her relatives. Miaojing, who had just become a grandmother, felt something piercing her heart the moment she imagined her grandchildren being killed like Zhu Baoqiu just because someone had betrayed them. How she wished she had a chopper to kill all those who dared to kill her grandchildren. Yes, this was a lawful society. But this was devastating nonetheless. She would much rather give up her own life to get revenge for her grandchildren. "Mom." Feeling that Miaojing's expression was a little strange, Qiaonan couldn't help but call out to Miaojing. Seeing that Miaojing had no response, Qiaonan patted Bao on the backside and shoved her heavy son into Miaojing's arms. Bao, kiss grandma." By now, not only could the 3 children understand some words, but they could even act out the corresponding actions. The moment Bao heard those words, he immediately puckered up his lips and pulled himself up while grabbing onto his grandma's clothes before planting a kiss on his grandma. Then, he laughed sweetly. Miaojing felt as though an exceptionally warm and soft thing was pressing against her, and the moist feeling on her cheek made her burst out in a smile. "Oh, grandma's Bao. Are you kissing grandma, or are you washing grandma's face? Grandma can probably save on washing her face today." Her 3 grandchildren had a lot of saliva indeed. "Yeah." Bao babbled, and his expression as he tried to act mature was especially funny. He wouldn't let himself go on a monologue. Every time he said a few sentences, Miaojing had to give him a reply, even if it was just a one-worded response. Then, Bao would go on with his speech again. Bao had not even grown up nor started to speak properly yet, but the Zai family had already learned that Bao was a chatterbox. "Oh, so that's the case. Bao, why are you so smart?" Miaojing was patient. Even though she did not understand a single thing that Bao had blabbered, she instinctively praised him. Bao might not have recognized anything else, but he did recognize his grandma's praises. Hearing his grandma praise him, Bao nodded vigorously, agreeing. Miaojing felt as though all her troubles had disappeared upon seeing how adorable her grandson was. Ao, grandma's good Bao. Grandma loves Bao the most. Bao kicked around in his grandma's embrace as though he was a little frog. Every time Bao did this, Xiaonan felt as though her heart was going to leap out of her chest. After all, the three children had grown significantly in size and Xiaonan felt as though her arms were going to break after carrying them for a while. If she felt this way, how would Miaojing feel when Bao did this? If not for the elderly couple standing in the way, Xiaonan would have reprimanded her children a long time ago. Even so, Xiaonan often lectured the children behind the elderly couple's backs and instructed the children not to do that. As the three children grew, not only had they gotten heavier, but they had also gotten stronger. It was tiring enough for the adults to carry them when they were being obedient. Once they got mischievous, it was impossible to carry them properly if one wasn't strong enough. Chapter 2328, Precious Darling, 2. Then, it wouldn't be good if either the children or the elderly couple got injured. Having been lectured by Xiaonan, the three children understood that their mother disliked them moving about when they were being carried. It was just that Bao was particularly active. Besides, he was still young and his memory wasn't particularly good. When Bao got too excited, he completely forgot about what his mom had taught him previously. This time, Bao had once again forgotten about his mother's words. He was being his joyful little self and had no idea how his mother was preparing to hit his backside while his grandparents were looking. Just like it had been in her dream, Bao had been more active. Sometimes, he was even clingy. Were children like that not attractive and eye-catching? Apart from the only girl in the family, Sanbao, the one whom Miaojing carried the most was the lovable Bao. Thankfully, Bao was not forgotten. Although he had not caught his grandma's attention, he received his grandpa's sole devotion. It was not that Zai Yaowai disliked Bao and Sanbao. It was just that Bao was the eldest among the triplets and had a similar temperament to Zai Sheng. Zai Yaowai always said that there was no need for him to worry about Bao or Sanbao with Bao around. As long as they raised Bao well, the Zai family would never fall. As long as Bao and Sanbao had Bao around, there was no need for them to worry. When Zai Yaowai carried Bao, he didn't play with Bao like how Miaojing played with Bao or Sanbao. He simply carried Bao without moving. Occasionally, he would take out the models made by Zai Sheng to teach Bao to identify the different types of airplanes, tanks, and even the components of guns. Every time that happened, Miaojing couldn't help but laugh at Zai Yaowai. Bao couldn't even call out for his mother, and yet, Zai Yaowai was teaching Bao all these in hopes that Bao would be familiar with military terms the moment he started speaking. Even if they thought that their grandchildren were geniuses who picked up things very quickly, Zai Yaowai was being overly enthusiastic. Even so, Zai Yaowai had never been discouraged by Miaojing's ridicules. He was simply doing some early education. It was not as though he was truly hoping that Bao would learn anything from it. The more Miaojing laughed, the more Zai Yaowai felt that it was good for him to interact with Bao in this manner. Bao was not as noisy as Bao, and he would watch his brother and sister with those round eyes of his as they played as though he was their guardian angel. When he held Bao in his arms, Bao's eyes would always follow him as he taught Bao. Humph! Who said that Bao didn't understand what he was saying? He felt that Bao understood him perfectly well. Thinking about how Bao would always reach out to hold those models in his hand and play with them after his lecture as though he was consolidating his knowledge, Zai Yaowai was even more proud. Only he as a grandpa would be able to cultivate such a good seedling like Bao. Meow Meow would only drag Bao down. The current situation couldn't be better. His daughter-in-law would raise Sanbao, Meow Meow would care for Bao, while he would teach Bao. After assigning everyone their tasks, Zai Yaowai turned his full attention to Dabao. Zai Yaowai, who was happily giving Dabao his early education, had no idea that his grandson was already sick of him. It wasn't just Dabao who was interested in those toy models. Even Bao and San Bao liked them too. Once the children had them in their hands, they all had the same reaction, stuffing them into their mouths. Dabao was in a hurry to play with those toys, but his grandpa refused to hand them over and would even go on his own monologue. His grandpa wouldn't even let him have it when he tried to snatch them over. The second time it happened, Dabao understood that he would have to be a filial grandson and let his grandpa have his chance to finish his speech. As such, whenever Zai Yaowai described the models, Dabao would listen with a serious expression, blinking and nodding from time to time. When Zai Yaowai's jaw stopped moving, Dabao knew that it was time for him to play. Sigh. It was tiring playing with his grandpa. Bao and San Bao had it good. Their grandpa had no desire to play with them. Could he share his grandpa's company with them? Zai Sheng, who had just come downstairs, reached his hands out to carry Bao out of his grandma's embrace. Miaojing was annoyed. Go! Go! Zai Sheng shared similar views with Zai Yaowai. San Bao was the family's only girl, so it went without saying that she would be raised like a princess. Sons were different. Boys had to be raised to be tough men. Bao was lively and made much more noise than San Bao, attracting the adults' attention. Zai Sheng couldn't help but worry that he would be overly pampered by his grandma. It was all right for girls to be a little spoiled, but boys, especially his sons, couldn't afford to be spoiled in the slightest bit. You have a heavy hand. Bao's still young. Don't carry him. Move aside. If she were to hand Bao over to Zai Sheng, she wouldn't have any grandchildren to carry. This rascal, Zai Sheng, didn't dare to fight with his father nor anger his wife, so he was trying to bully his mom. Bao, do you prefer grandma carrying you? Yes, grandma likes carrying Bao. Let's not let your dad carry you. Mom, Zai Sheng was helpless. To gain her grandchildren's affection, she had put her own son down. Mom, don't spoil Bao. Our Zai family's boys have to be tough. This would only make the children develop bad habits and believe that these words were the truth. As he said that, Zai Sheng scooped Bao up from Miaojing's embrace as though he was reeling in a fishing net before seating Bao on his muscular leg. Now, Bao despised his father. His grandpa hardly carried him, but his grandma's embrace was soft, and his mother's embrace was soft and fragrant. His dad. It was hard and uncomfortable. Bao wriggled, trying to escape from his father's embrace to find his mother or San Bao. Seeing Bao's actions, Zai Sheng nipped the problem in the bud by trapping Bao between his calves. Bao, who did not crawl very well to begin with, could no longer run away. After trying in vain a few times, he fell and his temper finally erupted and he burst out in tears. Dad was a big bully. Chapter 2329, Precious Darling, 3. After Bao cried, he looked at Qiaonan tearfully and sought help from his beloved mother. Qiaonan was both angry and amused. She didn't understand why Zai Sheng was always so fierce in front of his son and thoroughly carried out the role of a strict father. Qiaonan couldn't take Bao away from Zai Sheng. However, after being husband and wife for 2 lifetimes, if Qiaonan didn't have any means to deal with Zai Sheng and save her son, she would really have lived these 2 lifetimes for nothing. Qiaonan put the San Bao in her arms into Zai Sheng's arms. Indeed, with the addition of a fragrant daughter, even if Zai Sheng's expression didn't change much, his actions became gentler. Did he think that Qiaonan would stop after this? No, it was still early. With Zai Yaowai's permission, not only did Qiaonan carry Bao, but she also put him in Zai Sheng's arms. The cold Zai Sheng suddenly had 3 babies in his arms. When the triplets were separated, they were quite obedient. The problem was that when the triplets got together, they had an unspoken chemistry to do bad things together. It was unknown if Dabeo was helping Bao vent his anger, but before Dabeo grabbed Zai Sheng's shirt and stood up, he had gnawed at Zai Sheng's face with his millet teeth. Even if this wouldn't scratch his skin, it still hurt a little. With a few bites, Dabeo left his love mark on Zai Sheng's face. Sanbao treated herself as a ball, rolled her fleshy body around, and kept bumping into Zai Sheng's chest. Not only could Zai Sheng not be calculative toward Sanbao, but he even had to prevent Sanbao from knocking him out and protect her from falling. Even if it was Zai Sheng, he was also a little flustered when all three children attacked him at the same time. It wasn't that Zai Sheng couldn't bear to lay a hand on the children. It was simply because they were still young and couldn't understand his words. As such, the tactics he used in the army didn't work at home at all. Seeing Zai Sheng in a sorry state because of the triplets, Xiao Nan and Miao Jing smiled unkindly. Miao Jing only wanted to say that it served him right. Who asked Zai Sheng to bully the younger ones? As a father, he even bullied Bao, his son. Now, he was attacked by his own sons and daughter. Yes, just like that. Dabeo, bite him harder. Even if Miao Jing didn't say anything, based on her expression alone, Zai Sheng could guess that his biological mother was rooting for her grandchildren to bully him. In the face of such a mother, Zai Sheng had nothing to say. In his mother's heart, his father used to be the most important. Now, it was naturally the triplets. He and Zai Hua could only find someone they could love by themselves. Upon thinking about this, Zai Sheng didn't feel as indifferent or angry as before. He silently cast his gaze at Xiao Nan, who was standing next to him. She was gentle and laughing lightly, and her eyes seemed to be filled with stars. Compared to the divorced Zai Hua, Zai Sheng was quite satisfied with his current lifestyle. At least, he was luckier than Zai Hua. Aside from Chu Chenxai, he had found the right person for himself. Xiao Nan didn't know how Zai Sheng was feeling now. When Zai Sheng looked at her like that, she felt a little guilty. There wasn't a choice. Xiao Nan carried Dabeo, who was the fiercest and least talkative, out and patted his back so that he could calm down. Dabeo, be obedient. How can you bully Dad together with Bao and Sanbao like this? Have you forgotten that Dad had played with the three of you yesterday? He even fed the three of you milk today. In other words, the three children could be said to be lacking conscience for bullying Zai Sheng like this. Dabeo, who had played too much previously, yawned in his mom's fragrant arms and suddenly felt sleepy. Indeed, it was too exhausting to play with an adult. He was going to take a nap. As Xiao Nan reached into Dabao's shirt, she found that there was already a thin layer of sweat on Dabao's back. Xiao Nan hurriedly asked the auntie to bring a hot towel over. Dabao's sleepy. I think Bao and Sanbao will soon be sleepy too. I'll wipe the sweat off Dabao first. Brothers, I'll leave Bao and Sanbao to you. When it came to serving the three children, Xiao Nan might be more proficient, but she couldn't compare to Zai Sheng in terms of speed. After wiping the sweat off the three children, Xiao Nan didn't really coax them. They slept soundly like piglets. Upon seeing that they were asleep, the adults hurriedly placed them in the nursery so that they could sleep well. Brothers, when will the second trial with Wang Yang begin? No one found it strange that Wang Yang wasn't willing to give up and decided to appeal. However, no matter what kind of attitude Wang Yang held, Xiao Nan's insistence would naturally not change. About 1 or 2 months later, Zai Sheng wasn't as busy with work recently. A number of soldiers who were under him were leaders now, especially the brothers he had brought out when he was young. They were now at the rank of a battalion commander at least. With these people helping him train new soldiers and execute tasks, Zai Sheng felt at ease. Zai Sheng could slowly let go of things in the army now. He would naturally shift more of his focus to his little family. The three children were growing up. Zai Sheng was already considering what kind of school to enroll them in. There were quite a number of schools in the capital. If he really wanted to find a good one for the children, it wasn't easy. In the past, Zai Sheng never thought that he would have to do such a thing. Now, even if he hadn't thought about it, he had to do his homework. He had to learn more about the kindergartens in the capital and pick one that was suitable for the children to grow and develop themselves. As such, what Zai Sheng read the most recently wasn't the information about the lawsuit with Wang Yang but the information about all the kindergartens in the capital. Oh! By then, Sister Zihua should be bringing Jiajia over to our house to play. When Jiajia's here, the triplets should be quite happy that there's a rare older sister who wants to play with them. Even though Jiajia had returned to Pingcheng, as long as she had time, she would call the Zai family from time to time. Although the triplets were still young and couldn't address anyone or say anything, Jiajia insisted on communicating with her younger siblings. What was amazing was that when the three children were facing the mobile phone, they would automatically yell spontaneously without having Xiaonan teach them. After hearing the voice of another person from the phone, they felt that the phone was such a strange thing. Did a sister live in it? After having a phone call with Jiajia once, the three children knew that once they yelled at this small phone, there would be an older sister who would be calling their names and chatting with them. Chapter 2330, Very Good Taste, 1. The four children could chat for 20 minutes at once. Even the adults were speechless. It was truly wonderful that Jiajia could chat with the three children for such a long period of time. Speaking of Jiajia, Zai Sheng frowned. When Jiajia's here, keep a closer watch. I feel that Jiajia has been spending too much time with Zihua recently that she's been led astray. The triplets can't be as crazy as Jiajia. Zai Sheng's evaluation of Zihua had never been particularly high. After Zihua insisted on marrying Weidai, Zai Sheng felt that Zihua didn't have a high IQ. Jiajia was initially such a nice and clever child. After hanging out with Zihua, her biological mother, a lot, she seemed to have contracted Zihua's stupidity. Miaojing rolled her eyes at Zai Sheng. If Hua hears your words, you siblings can get ready for another fight again. Who wouldn't think that their child is the best? Jiajia is still an obedient child. Why is your evaluation of Jiajia so low? You should be thankful that I'm old and don't have the energy to take care of you like when I was young. Otherwise, I would have gotten the auntie to find the feather dusters so that I can give you a good beating. Is there any uncle like you who says that of his own niece? Miaojing might not be as close with Jiajia as she was with the triplets. After all, the triplets had grown up with Miaojing, whereas Jiajia didn't have a lot of time to interact with Miaojing. Because of what happened in the past, Miaojing had missed out on Jiajia's growth process. To that, Miaojing felt like she owed her a lot. Upon hearing how Zai Sheng evaluated Jiajia and that he was afraid Jiajia would lead the triplets astray, Miaojing had the mood to beat Zai Sheng up. Zai Sheng felt helpless. He didn't despise Jiajia or say that she was a bad child. However, Zai Sheng wasn't specifically sure what caused Miaojing to become angry. In the end, Xiaonan helped Zai Sheng explain things. Mom, don't be angry. Brother Zai doesn't mean anything else. You shouldn't know that there's a popular saying on the internet now, right? It's called giving birth to a child for the sake of having fun. Jiajia prepared a lot of things for the triplets, like a princess dress and the clothes of a prince. She seemed to want to play cosplay with them at a young age. The triplets are still young. How would they know all of these? These are all Jiajia's interests. Zai Sheng was worried that his niece would play too much with his children. Zai Sheng was a man in all seriousness. After knowing that Jiajia bought those messy and expensive clothes for the three children, he disapproved of them. Aside from occasional fun, such bright and shiny costume-like clothes were not suitable for everyday wear. Whoever wore this as everyday wear would definitely be regarded as crazy. Jiajia was already a high school student. Even if she was stressed, she couldn't relieve her stress by playing with his three children. Playing like this was a waste of both time and money. On the surface, Zai Sheng looked like a strict father torturing his 3 children. However, that wasn't considered torture. He was just training them. On the contrary, if Jia really played with the triplets in this manner, Zai Sheng would definitely not allow it. He was afraid that his 3 children would play too much with his niece. Qiaonan's thoughts were much simpler. She heard from Zai Hua that Jia's thoughts were filled with her younger brothers and sisters so much that it was like she was possessed by the devil. They had to think of ways to help Jia, a high school student, concentrate on more serious things. If Jia's wishes came true and they played too hard, it would be more difficult for Jia to withdraw her concentration from the triplets. As such, what the couple didn't understand was how Zai Hua thought as a mother. They were just Jia's uncle and aunt, but they cared so much about her studies. Why was it that Zai Hua could spoil Jia so much? No matter how expensive these clothes were, she didn't care and just bought them so that Jia could be happy. It was alright no matter how scattered Jia's thoughts were or how much they were unfavorable to her studies, as long as Jia was happy. It was unknown if Zai Hua had the mentality to make up to Jia after the divorce, as she had caused her to become a fatherless child. Seeing the mother-daughter pair in such a state, Qiaonan was quite worried and afraid that things would develop in the opposite direction when they became extreme. As such, Qiaonan had chatted with Zai Sheng before to see if he could find a chance to have a good chat with Zai Hua and take care of her current situation. If things didn't work out, she could arrange for Zai Hua to see a psychiatrist so that she could be enlightened. Jia wasn't a 3-year-old child. She was supportive of Zai Hua's and Weida's divorce back then as well. As such, something was wrong with Zai Hua's attitude. If this continued, the situation would change into something dangerous. After hearing Qiaonan's explanation, Miaojing understood where Zai Sheng's evaluation of Jia came from. Miaojing was a little embarrassed for misunderstanding her biological son, as she was too nervous over Jia. Why didn't you tell me this situation earlier? Hua is at fault as well. She shouldn't have pampered her child in such a manner. Jia's young. As a student, it's most important for her to study hard. Even if we don't place a lot of importance on Jia's grades in school, it's not wrong for her to be more serious in her studies. A student should have the attitude of a student. It's not good for her to be so distracted. Miaojing was only happy that Jia liked the triplets. She was thinking that as long as Jia had a good relationship with the triplets, even if she and Zai Yai passed away in the future, she didn't need to worry about Zai Hua and Jia anymore. Furthermore, they never thought that Zai Sheng would have no conscience and just watch from the side coldly if Zai Hua were to run into any trouble in the future. It was just that if the 4 children from the next generation of the 2 families had a good relationship, it would naturally be better, as their relationship would be stronger and more stable. It was understandable for her as an elderly to dote excessively on her favorite grandchildren. Miaojing and Zai Yai were very reasonable old people. Once they knew that their son and daughter-in-law were doing this for Jia's good, how would they have any other opinions? They naturally agreed with them. Although she was not only a mother with a son and a daughter but was also a grandmother, Miaojing knew that she always had a problem. From being a mother to a grandmother, she had always been confused. Her son and daughter gradually grew up. However, she didn't seem to have contributed much and they had just grown up by themselves. She was an unsuccessful mother. As a grandmother, she didn't have much experience of raising a child to share with Zai Hua, her daughter. What made Miaojing feel relieved was that her son had good taste and married Qiaonan. Miaojing felt that Qiaonan knew how to be a mother and was a woman naturally born to be a mother.